while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me.
Attention, nursing staff. The recreation room is being painted, so please remind patients that the party tonight is in the cafeteria. I repeat, the party is in the cafeteria.
Dr. Carroll! He isn't here. It's 3 o'clock, isn't it?
Nurse Holzhausen, please call the main desk. Nurse Holzhausen, call the main desk, please.
Oh, luckies. I'll take this for George. This is just between us, okay? Dr. Carroll's theme song, Claire DeLuny. You know, it's strange, but I can't tolerate friends anymore. I can only tolerate enemies. You see where that puts me? It makes me unfit to live in the world. Oh, well, what the hell? We're all iconoclasts in one way or another, aren't we? Dr. Carroll, come out wherever you are.
Your attention, please. Dr. Carroll has been called away on an emergency. His afternoon appointments are canceled.
Say that again.
Dr. Carroll's appointments are canceled.
Hallelujah. No 3 o'clock inquisition. Thank you, doctor. Don't mind if I do. Don't ever fall into the hands of a psychiatrist unless you're feeling very Faustian. He'll destroy your soul. Highland Hospital, Robert S. Carroll, MD. Confidential. Not anymore. Here's Katie's. All she does is wander around yelling, "Would somebody call me a cab? Would somebody call me a cab?" Ooh. Here's George's. Oh. Permit patient the use of cosmetics on all but visiting days. George is a long, tall man who roams the halls in evening gowns. He says his father wanted a boy, his mother wanted a girl. I guess they were both satisfied. Fitzgerald, Zelda. Can you tell me why the hell I should spend the rest of my life in this place? Why I'm sick to death of the atmosphere of sanitarium. It seems as though I've been cleaning my room for years and not making noises in the halls. And I've climbed enough stairs to get to heaven. I just want to get as far away from Asheville, North Carolina as I can. Mama's always wanted me home with her, but Scott prefers dumping me in places like this. Pack up all my care and woe. Here I go, singing low. Bye bye, blackbird.
Fitzgerald, Zelda. Schizophrenic. Very slight progress. Patient rebels against authority, yet has been unable to function without institutional supervision for much of the past 10 years. Do not stir up the patient. Relieve her of having to make decisions, which aggravates her disorder. Avoid confrontation, which is inadvisable at her stage of schizophrenia.
thought of something witty. The fact is, my smile is uncontrollable, and it terrifies me. No one here can love or understand me. Oh, what hard luck stories they all hand me. La, 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 la. The fact is, I'm simply a neurotic woman who's reached the end of her physical resources and is exhausted. Dr. Carroll doesn't know it, but I have a mission beyond these walls. A divine mission. I've got to tell the world a lot of things. Things about God and the end of the world and dying. But he won't permit me to talk about religion. Oh, hell, who cares anyway? This generation is so spiritually dense, it thinks Armageddon is a new baking powder. I was always an excitement eater. When I was a child, I phoned the fire department. Hello, Mr. Fireman? There's a little girl stuck on top of the house. The gray and white one at 6 Pleasant Avenue. Hurry! I got the ladder. I climbed onto the roof, kicked the ladder away, and waited. The fire engines came clanging down the street, and all the neighbors came out to see what the hell was... Do you know something? Your arms look too long. And your face looks tiny and far away and out of proportion. You look kaleidoscopic. I'm going crazy. Don't you want to come along? You know something else? Nobody's ever sent me a get well card. Isn't that rotten? Sorry you've gone insane, Zelda. But not a word. Isn't this lovely? Highland Hospital spring pattern penitentiary. I'm going crazy. Don't you want to come along? Don't look so smug. You're in here with me, you know.
Nurse Holthausen, would you please call the main desk? Nurse Holthausen, call the main desk, please.
Where the hell is Nurse Holthausen? I wish she'd look tiny and far away. She checks my room every 5 minutes to see if I've strangled myself yet. I'm really rather angry that people won't let me be insane. I wish they'd accept me without that feeling of having to acquit me. And I can't dance. They won't let me. No dancing, Mrs. Fitzgerald. Now you talk about therapy. That could actually help me. But Dr. Carroll says that's part of my problem. He and his goddamn feudal formulas. Just because my husband went and blabbed to him about how I made myself sick going to ballet class in Paris 8 hours a day. Scott couldn't realize that dancing was the refuge from the chaos in our lives. Scott's refuge was the bottle. Do you know what they called him? F. Scotch Fitzgerald. I guess there's nothing so indicative of civilization than the solaces people seek. I'll probably never dance again. My muscles are getting so flabby. Though I did start taking lessons when I visited my mama last. But I got in a quarrel with the teacher, Priscilla Billie Jean Lilligard. I told Parisi that I could not do steps that neither fit the period nor the spirit of the music. So I gave her some Schubert waltzes, hoping she'd choreograph them. But she apparently has impaired hearing. In fact, I told her so, and Parisi told me I was a cow. So I said she was a cow. And she said she couldn't be a cow if she tried, and I said a cow doesn't have to try to be a cow, it just is one.
Mr. Krause, please. Your wife is at the desk. Mr. Krause, your wife is here.
Oh, I see George and Katie are playing croquet. Ooh. Oh, that dress looks like dotted Swiss. What a heavenly shade of blue. something. What'd she sing? Oh, of course.
Would somebody call me a cab? Would somebody call me a cab?
I wish they'd let us have animals here. Once I had this Persian cat. His eyes were topaz. He was such a pretty cat, all white with furry boots. When he was still a kitten, he caught, tortured, and killed his first mouse. So I gave him a coming out party with anchovies and cheese candies. After that initial triumph, he got more ambitious and tried to eat the parrot. Polly squawked so loudly you could hear her 5 blocks away. There were feathers everywhere. After I spanked Chopin, he disappeared. Lost himself in Indian summer somewhere under the fallen leaves.
Mr. Krause, are you hiding? Your wife is here. Please.
Oh, those Krauses. Sometimes I wonder which one of them lives here. When Polly wasn't scornfully eating peanuts, she was squawking, "Bah, go to hell, go to hell!" Polly always sat next to the gramophone, and she knew all the latest songs. Pack up all my care and woe, here I go, singing low. Bye-bye, blackbird, where somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is he. Thank God no Dr. Carroll today. No hypnotic heart-to-heart. Called away on an emergency. I'll bet. He's probably out on the golf course right now. Tell the nurses station if they're still looking for Mr. Krause, try the bushes near the parking lot. Stale, but delicious. Oh, Dr. Carroll's bonbons! Katie's lipstick. Confiscated by Dr. Carroll. We're not allowed to use makeup. Only George. I'm sure Dr. Carroll thinks I'm incurably deranged. Yes, he does. I know. I can tell by his eyes. The unblinking eyes of a cobra. He thinks he can drive out the devils that are driving me. Every Wednesday at 3 p.m., it's the same scenario. He puts on one hell of a show. I walk through the door and I say, "Dr. Carroll, have you talked with my mother? I want to go home." "Mrs. Fitzgerald, did you sleep well?" "No, I did not sleep well. Have you talked with my mother? I want to go home." Sit down, close your eyes, and relax. "Yes, doctor." Every Wednesday, the same scenario. Feel your body relaxing. Feel yourself drifting. All extraneous thoughts are falling away. You are at peace. "Yes, doctor." God, how I hate that voice. "Now, when I tell you, you will slowly begin counting backwards from 100. Begin. 100, 99, 90. Slowly. 98, 97, 96. Psychiatry's worse than witchcraft, I swear to God. It gives one the illusion of hope when there isn't any. 95, 94, 93.
Zelda!
Oh, Mama, look at here. It's from Scott. It's an engagement ring, Mama. What's it look like? It's his mother's. Isn't it grand? Mama, I'm practically 19. Here, Mama, you listen. Darling, I am sending this your way just the way it came. I hope it fits and I wish I were there to put it on your finger. I found a knockout apartment with a bathtub big enough for 2. A bathtub, Mama! In New York, Everything's twice as big. Do right every day. So goodbye, my dearest sweetheart, Scott. And it fits, Mama. Mrs. Francis Scott Fitzgerald. It sort of says soon to me. Just sings it. Oh, just wait till I wear this Saturday night to the country club dance. Lurleen Pearson's gonna turn absolutely green. Of course I'm going, Mama. I can't disappoint Frankie Stubbs. Besides, I'm not letting being engaged stop me from having fun. Gosh, Eleanor Browder's engaged, and she's got more beaux than Solomon had wives. Why, if I get a chance, I'm gonna kiss all the bachelors in Alabama, if I haven't already. Nothing, Mama, I was just spoofing. In the first place, I haven't kissed anybody. And in the second place, there's nobody left in the first place. Oh, Scott, my ring is so beautiful. I'll come to you, lover, whenever you're ready. Don't you think I was made for you? You've trusted me with the dearest heart of all, and that's so damn much more than anyone else in the world ever had. From Zelda Sayer, 6 Pleasant Avenue, Montgomery, Alabama. Cradle of the Confederacy. We moved 3 times before settling there. Just right for a Supreme Court judge and his family. A tidy, fashionable street. I remember when I was a little girl, I'd lie awake in the dark, and the aroma of pear from across the way would fill the room. And as I'd fall asleep, I could hear a band playing waltzes in the distance. Every place has its hours, don't you think? There's Rome in the glassy sun of a winter noon. There's Paris under a blue gauze of spring twilight. And there's a red sun flowing through the chasms of a New York dawn. Who's from Montgomery? Anybody? Well, I remember. Time was tradition, and the past was actuality. 91, 90, 89, 88.
Zelda!
Oh, Mama, this'll be the prettiest wedding dress ever. It's like a cloud. Oh, Mama, you can't imagine what a commotion my ring caused at the club. Honestly, the whole dance was completely upset. And Lucy Goldthwait told Theodota Lee that, ouch, Mama, you stuck me. I am standing up straight. No, Mama, I don't want it that way. I want it to drop off the shoulder like this. See? It will, too, stay up. Jane Massey's wedding dress stayed up, and she's flatter than an old pancake. Oh, Mama. Then I'll wear my gray suit to be married in. Confederate gray. I may even bob my hair. I'll probably look like hell.
Zelda!
Who's that calling my name? Daddy? Wait, Daddy. Scott says we're going to be married at St. Patrick's Cathedral in the rectory. Just a few friends. But Daddy... Daddy gave me the trip north as a wedding present. He and Mama didn't go to see me get married. Daddy didn't approve of Scott because he was a drinker, a Princeton dropout, and a Yankee. Mama never made the dress, so I wore a suit of midnight blue with a matching hat trimmed in leather ribbons and buckles. Scott adored it. When Daddy put me on the train to New York, he looked so handsome standing there, I was afraid I'd cry. Goodbye, Daddy. That train pulled me out of the shadow-drenched land forever.
Attention, patients. Therapy weaving class in 5 minutes. Therapy weaving in 5 minutes. Room 86.
85, 84, 83. Where did I get this ugly old thing? It looks like a gunny sack. It looks enormous. I may end up giving it to Nurse Holtzhausen. What a Prussian intellectual she is. I got to work all my life, Frau Fitzgerald. I was not born with a silver loffle in my mouth. What a pity. That mouth could accommodate a service for 6. Nurse Holtzhausen says I need another permanent wave. What do you think? I suppose it does look a mess. The beautician comes today. Scott says when he first saw me in 1918, he thought my hair looked honey yellow. I remember the dress I was wearing. It was white silk with a chiffon tunic floating over it, and a large brimmed hat as big as a manhole cover, and long streamers down my back, and a fan. Oh my, a genuine Southern belle. It was after my high school graduation. Scott was a first lieutenant at Camp Sheridan. I saw him standing at the edge of the dance floor, watching me waltz with Tommy Lee Culpepper. He was beautiful as men are not meant to be, with violet eyes and dark lashes, and a straight nose and sensitive mouth. His hair looked green gold under the soft lights. Masculine beauty that I'd never seen before. And he was slightly, but ecstatically intoxicated. It was a radiant night of soft conspiracy. The dance floor with smoking aspirations. Excuse me, Tommy Lee. I felt bodiless like a phantom as I moved into his waiting arms. Without any introduction, a tender, inevitable gravity taking me and enfolding me there. I thought he secretly possessed the ability to fly, but was dancing only as compromised with convention. He whispered his name in my ear with a kind of alcoholic modesty. Francis Scott Fitzgerald? What a remarkable name. Are you related to Francis Scott Key? The man who wrote that awful song that nobody can sing. Oh, you are? Well, don't be offended, Lieutenant, but I hope it never becomes our national anthem. Oh, Woodrow Wilson's the only one that likes it, and he's such an old coot. My name is Zelda Sayre. Z-E-L-D-A. I was named after a gypsy queen in a novel Mama was reading just before she had me. Dancing with him, Doctor. Being close to him, my face between his ear and his stiff army collar. So clean and pure and dashing. Oh, Scott, my golden god. 82, 81, 80. Scott, why did you marry me? Because you have some sense of the seriousness of life. Seriousness? Me? Why, I'm the original flapper, my silly goofo. I'm down there in black and white in your own novels as a proud and selfish little fool. There isn't a serious bone in my body. Remember? Once we drank ourselves blotto at a speakeasy. We bought a Rolls Royce as carelessly as if it were a postage stamp, and I drove back home to Long Island, hitting all the fire plugs on the way. And Scott singing at the top of his lungs, "Who will bite your neck when my teeth are gone? Do-wop, 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 dooby-dooby-dooby-doo-da." He started Gatsby then. It took him 2 years to finish it. During that time I bobbed my hair, I lost my southern accent, and I went into battle. I flirted because it was fun to flirt. I wore a flesh-colored bathing suit. Why? Because I had a good figure. And I covered my face in powder and paint because I didn't need it. I jumped into a fountain in my evening clothes, and I rode down Fifth Avenue one hot summer night on top of a taxi. We both did. Contrived behavior calculated to shock. Here's to the flapper who's growing old at last. She's come to none of the predicted bad ends, but it's gone where all good flappers go. Into marriage and convention and boredom and the unpleasant ordeal of having babies. Who gives a damn about convention? Not me. The world isn't going to suffocate me. That's what this flapper's all about. There's only one act of significance. You take what you want when you want it. Oh, Jesus, did I really believe that? It says here I was the last of 6 children. That's right, I was. My sisters and brother were much older than me. They weren't my playmates, so I played alone. I liked climbing in the tops of trees. When I was a little girl, I liked jumping from high places. And I mean high places. Like houses under construction. You know why? So I could run along the open roofs. I had complete confidence. I walked by myself against life. I didn't have a single feeling of shyness or doubt or inferiority. I had no moral principles. I guess you should say, Doctor, that girl in the treetops was confident. Well, this has been one hell of a day, Doc. I think that word belongs in my files. Confident.
Mrs. Fitzgerald.
79, 78, 77. So you're the gentleman from the Courier Journal. Won't you sit down? I've never been interviewed alone before. What do we do? Is it very formal? No? Good. Shoot. How do I prepare breakfast for my husband? Well, I ask the cook if we have any eggs. If so, I persuade her to poach 2 of them. Yes, I love to write. Do you know it's strange, but in my husband's last novel, I recognize old excerpts from a diary of mine that mysteriously disappeared after our marriage. And letters I wrote, too. It seems our Mr. Fitzgerald believes plagiarism begins at home. Scott, he wants to know whether we like large families or small. I don't know. Scott, where's Felipe? Excuse me. Felipe! Is it his day off? I don't remember. Felipe's our butler. He must be taking his saxophone lesson. Actually, we've never heard him play before, just infrequent tootings from afar. Felipe! Felipe! 71? Why do I experience these eerie disorientations? Oh, Doctor, I wish I were that child again, climbing in those treetops. Dear God, that desperate nostalgia to be younger than young. It's so painful. Aren't you afraid of growing old? Neither was I. I used to say to myself, Zelda, you'll be all right for another 5 years. You'll be pretty that long. It takes a good 50 years for time to better down a woman's looks and crumple her charms. Well, I was wrong. Just look at me. The glamorous Mrs. F. Scott Fitzgerald and her Elizabeth Arden face gone to pot. Ugh. Now I know why Miss Dr. Carroll removed all the mirrors. I'm glad Scott's gone. I wouldn't have wanted him to see me growing prosaic and wrinkled. Bitter things dried up behind my eyes. I've been physically and mentally ravaged by resentments, but I can't remember what they are. I want to be able to put my hands on something tangible, to be able to say, this is real. This is part of my experience. This that happened is part of my memories. There's one resentment I do remember. The time Scott made a fool of himself with Isadora Duncan. We were at dinner, some chicken thing, and there was Isadora Duncan sitting at a nearby table. Mind you, she was only 46 at the time, but she looked like an old woman. Very heavy. And she dyed her hair purple to match her dress. She looked ridiculous. And there were 3 silly young men hovering over her. Before you knew it, there was Scott kneeling at her feet like some adolescent movie fan. You should have seen them. She leaned over, kissed his brow, and ran her fingers through his hair. "My centurion," she said. "My handsome, brave centurion." The old bag. And then you know what she did? She invited him to his room later that night. So I climbed on top of the dining table, honest, and I leaped into the stairway behind them, my skirts flying. "Watch out, everyone, here I come!" Oh, I skinned both my knees. I ruined a pair of silk hose, but it was one hell of a showstopper. I feel as though I've just been born. That's how I feel. Born without a family, without a friendly house about me, without a scheme to settle into or rebel against. Mama, what was I like when I was little?
All my children were good babies.
No, Mama, that's not what I mean. I feel like I've got no clear idea of what I was like. I feel like I was nothing, and I don't know if I've become myself yet, or if I'm still nothing. Did I cry at night and raise hell so that you and Daddy wished I was dead?
Zelda, what an idea. All my children were sweet children.
Mama, I don't care about the others. I just want to know about me. Mrs. Kavanaugh always said she'd never seen a more troublesome child in her life than me. Is that true?
Her little Clara was pigeon-toed and cross-eyed. Looked like her father. Jesse Kavanaugh was just envious.
But Mama, what was I like?
Zelda, you were exceptional. All my children were exceptional babies.
Thank you, Mama. Exceptional. Did you hear that, Doctor? Let's put that in my files. Exceptional. I was Mama's favorite. I was breastfed until I was old enough to bite a chicken bone in two. Poor Mama. My head hurts. I feel like a somnambulist. Somnambulist. What a stupid word. No, Doctor, I don't want to talk anymore. I don't. I know. Relax and continue counting backwards. What's after 55? I don't mean after. I mean before. 4. That's it. 54, 53, 52, 51. There's got to be a streak of sanity in me somewhere. 50. Why do we always count backwards? I bet he plays golf from the 9th hole to the 1st. 49, 48, 47, Say anything that comes to mind, Mrs. Fitzgerald. Okay. Scott and I lived in a big house by the river. And sometimes, rarely, we did things together. Yeah, we were happy there. We didn't seem to care very much whether we were happy or not. I suppose we expected happiness was going to be something more dramatic. Dr. Carroll, do you see those ornaments? We dragged them out every year since I was a little girl. What ornaments? Close your eyes, Doctor. Count backwards, and maybe you'll see them too. The Christmas tree ornaments. Do you know, once I walked into a Christmas cotillion, and butlers and footmen fell about me like a flurry of early snow. And I asked myself what it was that gave me such instantaneous authority. Being Mrs. F. Scott Fitzgerald? One smart old lady at the cotillion said, "As far as I can see, she's just a cheeky little flapper with clean ears." Oh yes, I remember. We had a maid, Marie, a wonderful Negro girl. She was high and gawky. She laughed and danced barefoot around the tree and danced on the broken ornaments. She didn't seem to notice. What an incredible spirit. And there was Felipe. Felipe? Oh yes, with the saxophone. Scott found Paris. Oh, he found Felipe in Paris and over my objections brought him home to be his drinking companion and his chauffeur. Felipe had a handsome bacchanalian face. He was a Parisian weightlifter and a taxi driver. He was always flexing his muscles and shadowboxing. I think he had blocked too many punches with his head, the little shit. And there was Ella, who sat in the kitchen and sang spirituals. And when thunder whipped and crackled over the river, Ella sat like a dark ejection of a storm, singing in a quavering voice. Sing low, sweet chariot, come for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, come for to carry me home. And then there was Max Perkins, my husband's editor. Doctor, he once said, Zelda is a girl of great character. Yes, he did. And there was William Reeford. W-E-F-O-R-D. Once I skipped school and spent a day in the graveyard trying to unlock a rusty vault. The boys wanted me to get into the tomb to test my nerve, and I wanted to sense the man buried there. William Reeford, 1842, 41, 40. Why should graves make people feel in vain? I've heard that so much. I can't find anything hopeless in having lived. And in 100 years, I think I shall like having young people speculate on whether I had brown eyes or blue. Of course, I have neither. Death is so beautiful. So very beautiful. 35, 34, 33, 32, 31.
Zelda!
Here it comes. The No Ladies Code of Conduct.
Zelda,
No
lady ever sits with her limbs crossed.
You mean my legs, Mama.
No lady ever uses the word legs.
The word is limbs.
You may cross your ankles, but not your limbs. Moreover, no lady ever allows her back to touch the chair. No lady ever steps out the front door without fastening her gloves. And no lady ever lets her
Southern belle was created by the Southern man as a stereotype to flatter his ego. Once she says hello, she's told you everything she knows. A baby face with a brain to match, you know the type. Small intellect and tiny interests. All the noble Southern women I'd known would abhor that attitude in anyone. Once I attended a dance at which the college men recited a pledge by torchlight. To the Southern belle, paragon of unblemished beauty, we dedicate our lives in honor and the protection of her sacred virginity. After that ludicrous ceremony, I made Irby Jones dance cheek to cheek with me, to the horror of the chaperones. Sometimes after dances, we'd sneak out to the cars for a little boodling. Boodler's Bend. That's where we parked the cars for necking. Daddy didn't always know what was going on, and Mama was afraid to tell him. If he told me I couldn't go out, I just went out the window and I went. Yes, doctor, I had a bad reputation.
Attention, ladies. Miss McDougal has had car trouble. She asks that you shampoo each other, and she will send you when she arrives. I repeat, you will shampoo each other.
I had a bad reputation, all right. I smoked rabbit tobacco out of a corn cob pipe, and if there wasn't any gin, I drank corn liquor cut with Coke. Mama said, if you've added liquor to your tobacco, you can subtract your mother. The habits of a prostitute do not mix with Southern gentility. Yes, Mama. In Montgomery, there was this ice cream parlor on Dexter Avenue. Harry's place. It was the local jelly joint. All the boys gathered there. I called them my jelly beans. They just loafed around. You know how boys do when they don't have dates. Once they drove by the house, yelling my name.
Zelda! Zelda! Zelda!
I ran out on the veranda. My jelly beans! Oh, my beautiful jelly beans! I love you. Daddy was home and he was livid. He said, your personal conduct is outrageous. How dare you make a spectacle of yourself? I don't care. I've got a right to do anything I want. People who do not subscribe have no rights. And that was Daddy the judge. Goodbye, my jelly beans. It's too damn hot to dance. You still there, Dr. Carroll? With your goddamn clipboard? Everything I say? You think you can put Humpty Dumpty back together again? No, doctor, I don't want to talk about my husband. I don't. Anyway, he's dead. He died 8 years ago. A heart attack in Hollywood. Scott was the keynote and prophet of his generation. The jazz age. And I'm so fed up of all these wistful, tragic silhouettes of Scott and Zelda. People want to bank on God? Well, that's too damn bad. He came home last night and he smashed me in the nose. He broke down the bathroom door and he punched me in the nose. Doctor, do you know where I'd like to be right now? On the beach. At St. Raphael on the Riviera. It was as close to paradise as we ever got. It was like a transfusion of light. It was also monotonous. Scott was so irritable, so remote. He left me entirely to myself. So much being wasted, I thought. You can't force a soul to feel fidelity, can you? And so, Edward came into my life. Kissing him was like embracing a lost religious rite. Do you think Scott saw? I hope not. I should tell him. I'll have to. I don't know. It would be unwise, he said. We must hold on to our benefits. Some benefits. An 11 by 14 glossy of himself. And that's not all. He also left a letter written in French, which I couldn't read. So I tore it up. I tore up the picture, too. What's the use in keeping them? There's never been a way to hold on to summer. There's all kinds of love in this world, but never the same love twice. Scott wrote that once. If only I could see him one more time. I still look down every track, and I see Scott coming out of every haze and every mist. And I am perpetually amazed that he is so handsome. I want to shut him up in a closet like a dress too beautiful to wear. If he were in my bed tonight, it might be the back of his head I'd touch. Wherever I touch, it'd be the sweetest place in all the world.
Zelda, no lady ever discusses the private intimacy of, well, no lady ever discusses it, that's all.
Yes, Mama. No lady ever discusses it. Damn mosquitoes. Oh, I see Mr. Cavanaugh's out in his dirty undershirt watering his moonvines. That's odd. I thought he died years ago. Wait a minute. He did die years ago. I don't get it. Doctor, can you explain that illusion to me? And what about these noises in my ears? Well, why in the hell can't you cure me? I'm so confused. Sometimes I forget where I am. Some hospital. Highland Hospital. Room 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. He says I failed him. Well, it's just barely possible he's failed me, this son of a bitch. I'm no fool. I've seen her, a simpering Hollywood starlet. Lois. She revels in attention from men. Lolo. Well, there's never been a more symmetrical body to help her to stardom. Why is it that men never seem to become the things they do? And why they're always needing babying about their sexual desirability? No, Scott, I'm not reproaching you. I would simply like to know why in Paris, when you saw that I was sick and sinking, you sat in the bathtub singing, "Play in your own backyard." And my dancing you hated. You whined about your lonely struggle against gifted and talented writers, and how I was only a third-rate writer and third-rate ballet dancer. If that was true, then why the hell did you put your name on my short stories? And why did you help yourself to my letters and my diaries? And twice that summer, you left our bedroom saying, "I can't. Don't you understand? I can't." Oh, Scott. God, it didn't matter, that part of it. Believe me, it didn't matter. If only we'd been close in other ways. He once told me that he married me because I had some sense of the seriousness of life. Now I see that that was true. You see, I believed in love, and that made me the stable person in our marriage. That word should go in my file, Doctor. Stable. Do you hear that? Help, 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 help. I used to hear voices only once in a while. Now I hear them all the time. Oh, I know they're inside me. Don't you think I know that? But anyway, I had this dream. I was asleep on the top floor of an insane asylum. In my dream, I mean. There was a bright and garish room filled with smoke. And Scott was above me on the roof, calling to me, Zelda! And I woke up. In my dream, I mean.
Zelda, 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 Zelda!
Scott! I'm down here! And I run. I run into the hallway. All the guards have left. And the patients are all outside my room, grinning and beckoning me to join them. They're so grotesque, it frightens me. I pull away, and I run back into my room, screaming, Scott! I'm down here! And I hear Scott calling, Zelda! Don't be insane! Scott! Scott! Come and get me! Please! Please! Come and get me! Nobody, not even the poets, can measure how much a heart can hold. But hearts perish in public institutions. Oh, Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me. Well, I come from Alabama, with a banjo on my knee. Well, I've come this far alone. I suppose I can go the rest of the way. Save yourself, Scott. Don't worry about the rest of the world. Save yourself. The immortal words of the great Ernest Hemingway. How like Ernest. I always questioned Scott's attachment to him. Scott thought I was jealous of Ernest, but it wasn't that. The first time we met, Ernest pulled Scott aside and told him I was crazy. Scott thought this was so funny, he repeated it to me. I didn't laugh. And I hate the constant effort of pulling punches, so I said it. He's a pansy with hair on his chest. And that was just the beginning. Oh, the swaggering bore, trying to prove his masculinity. The big war hero, the tough guy, game hunting, bull slinging, bullshit! I believe there's an actuality. And the impulse of homosexuality is as old as God. Are you listening to me, Scott? I wish you'd believe me for your artist's soul and not be so afraid. Once I had this friend in ballet class. She was so lovely and quiet. Ordinarily, women bore the tar out of me. I think she was a lesbian. Here at Highland Hospital, we're not allowed to use that word. Lesbian! I think there's a cat crying in the hedge. Here, kitty, 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 kitty. go when they die. I think they're better than people. They deserve to go to heaven more than we do. I saw Daddy die, and I wasn't afraid of going myself. After all, death is the only real elegance. Operator, I'd like to send a telegram to Scott Fitzgerald. Hotel Christie, Hollywood. Daddy died last night. Stop. Don't worry about us. Stop. Bill it to Garfield, 7009 7. Daddy left me nothing but his high principles and his moral doubts. After he died, I went looking through his papers for a new legacy. The only thing I found was a mildewed purse containing 3 coins. It was the first money Daddy ever made. It's just the little personal things we care about in people. Who cares what good and evil dies? God is always ready to forgive. That's why it only seems right that I forgive Daddy's indifference to me. Just as though I hope someday to be forgiven by my own daughter. My own daughter. I don't want to play this morbid little game anymore. I want to wake up! Please. She called me Mommy when she was little. Oh, Scotty, so like your daddy, with that horizon quality in your eyes. Once we bathed you in the bidet by mistake. And once at lunch, you gulped down a gin fizz thinking it was lemonade. I loved your thin child's legs and your suspended in motion way of walking. Oh, Scotty, my baby, be strong and be happy. For you, I'll make the jasmine bloom and all the trees come out in flower. We'll eat clouds for dessert and bathe in the foam of rain, just we 3 together. What are you staring at? 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 Mrs. Fitzgerald, yes, that's all I ever was. I never had an identity without Mr. Fitzgerald. And then after he abandoned me here, he became furious when he found out I sent my first novel to Max Perkins. Do you know what he said to Max? I'm going to edit her books. And he tore the heart out of it because he said my life was his literary domain. Oh, Doctor, why did I marry him anyway? Of course, I loved and married the artist in him, but I should have loved the artist in myself. And he should have too. Artist. The irony of it is this. I am his books. And I loved him. I loved Scott. Without him, everything was pale and pathetic. I trailed in the wake of his thoughts, and I drowned in his image. 6, 5. Say, Doc, did you ever work the Ouija board? I worked it once. The only answer I got was dead, dead, dead. I got scared and quit. Now, Mrs. Fitzgerald, you will begin counting down from 3. You will awaken feeling relaxed, refreshed, and rejuvenated. 3, 2, 1. So long, Doc. And what is right, my dear Buffo, is that you're dead and you can no longer drive a steamroller over my pulverized ego. You should have been here today, Doctor. But don't worry, I brought you up to date. Confident, exceptional, stable, artist, somebody. Katie's lipstick, passion poppy. We were two little babes in the wood, two little babes, oh so good, two little hearts, two little heads, long to be home in their two little beds. Hello, Zelda. So two little birds built a nest where the two little babes lay to rest. And the breeze hovering high sang a last lullaby. And the two little...
Your attention, patients. The dining room is now open. I repeat, the dining room is open.
To hell with the dining room. Would somebody call me a cab?